Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So we're finishing our first effort at consolidating our educational, preaching, cultural activities in this lifetime. And part of this here is a presentation we have made called Two Princes, Hamlet and Arjuna, Occident, Orient, Civil Life and Cosmic Order. Prashak Swami, Abrahachan Robinson, April 4th. Can you see our slide?
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Very
Okay.
beautiful. Yeah.
So there's Hamlet with a skull and Arjuna and Krishna. To households both alike in dignity, in fair Verona where we lay our scene, from ancient grudge break forth to new mutiny, and civil blood makes civil hands unclean. We need the citation as from Romeo and Juliet. To households both alike in dignity, in fair Verona where we lay our scene, from ancient grudge break forth to new mutiny, and civil blood makes civil hands unclean. So of course we have a Spanish version we worked on also, and Lakshman Agraja, Abhiram Thakur. We tried for so long to translate this. It's so difficult. Maybe Miguel Cervantes may have done a better job than we did. And civil blood makes civil hands unclean. Can we say that the two greatest classics in the world, East and West, are the Bhagavad Gita of Vedavyas and Hamlet of William Shakespeare? I'm trying to move my board here. Not working out. Yes. Well, we might be able to say that. Radhe Radhe. They are not superficial shows of godless energy. They are both works of deep cultural and philosophical significance. They touch us where life means the most, in our social and psychological worlds. Radhe Radhe. Arjuna said, my dear Krishna, seeing my friends and relatives present before me in such a fighting spirit, I feel the limbs of my body quivering and my mouth drying up. O Janardhan, although these men, their hearts overtaken by greed, see no fault in killing one's family or quarreling with friends, why should we, who continue crime and destroying a family, engage in these acts of sin? Bhagavad Gita 1:28-37. Very, very nice drawing of the battle scene where Krishna is talking to Arjuna. Very intense audience. Hamlet. Oh, that this too solid flesh would melt, thaw, and resolve itself as dew. Oh, that the everlasting had not fixed his cannon against the self-slaughter. Oh God, how weary, stale, flat, and unprofitable seem to me all the uses of this world. Time is out of joint, O cursed spite, that I was ever born to set it right. Hamlet, Act 1, Scene 2 and 3. Ontology, the ultimate nature of things. Okay. So before this, we can see they're both facing the same problem. They have to engage in civil disruption. Arjuna has to kill his teacher, his grandfather, his cousins and nephews. And Hamlet has to kill his uncle and chastise his mother, saying bad things about her moral character. Okay, and then let's look at the contrast in between the ontology, the ultimate nature of things, how these are viewed. They both have the same problem. They have to deal with civil war and family conflicts, the most difficult thing. But then how do they look at the actual background of this? What is the actual nature of the cosmos? Okay. So it's a very nice discussion of this in a play called As You Like It. Okay. Okay. Shucks. All the world's a stage, and the men and women therein mere players. You've got to find your own age in this thing. They have their entrances and their exits, and that one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being 7 ages. At first the infant, mewling and puking in the nurse's arms. Then the whining schoolboy with his satchel and shining morning face, creeping like snail, unwillingly to school. I can remember that. I still remember the tree I was standing under when I was going with my friends in the morning. And then the lover, sighing like a furnace, with a woeful ballad made to his mistress's eyebrow. Then a soldier, full of strange oaths, and bearded like the leopard, jealous in honor, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation, even in the cannon's mouth. So if you look at the name of the camera here, it's a cannon. So here we have a cannon in the mouth of a leopard, as opposed to a leopard in the mouth of the cannon.
It's pretty
And then the
figurative.
justice. Okay, and then the justice in fair round belly, with good capon, with eyes severe and beard of more formal cut, full of wise sayings and modern instances. The 6th age is chef into the lean and slippered pantaloon, with spectacles on nose and pouch on side, his youthful hose well saved, a world too wide for his shrunk shank, and his big manly voice turning again toward childish treble, pipes and whistles in his sound. So I'm coming to that. My voice is falling apart. Okay. Yeah. Last scene of all that ends this strange eventful history is the second childishness and mere oblivion. So ends teeth, so ends eyes, so ends taste, so ends everything. Wow, such a nice changing bodies. And of course, Shakespeare puts it so beautifully. And we've seen different little drawings, illustrations of each point like that. We put some here. We've also heard, if somebody can find it, that King Solomon also gives this same, description, the same inspiration to contemplate what is our situation in life, what is the ultimate reality. Ontologically, we can see that everybody grows up, they go through certain phases, they have the same activities, and they die. Of course, in the Sanskrit Vedic perspective, Bhagavad Gita, we take birth again. So it's a cycle, but it's not just a cycle, it's a spiral, because we're going through the same thing again, but we're actually, hopefully, making progress upwards. The Bhagavad Gita's take is similar. As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body, from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. Bhagavad Gita 2:13. So both Shakespeare and Vyasadeva are emphasizing that we take consciousness of this fact. Don't be locked into the particular age and where you are. Always keep that age within the perspective of what's going to happen, what has happened. We are the passengers. We are the passenger who rides the vehicle of this body. But at the time of death, when the vehicle is finished, we are not finished. Differences. Donkey and the rider. Differences. Donkey and the rider. It's clear to Arjuna, but not to Hamlet. Hamlet. To what base uses we may return, Horatio? Why may not imagination trace the dust of Alexander till he find it stopping a bunghole? A bunghole is the hole in a beer barrel, for example. Horatio, for to consider too curiously, consider so. Hamlet, no, faith, not a jot. Alexander died, Alexander was buried. Alexander returneth into dust. The dust is earth. Of earth we make loam. And why not that loam whereto he was converted? Might they not stop a beer barrel? Imperious Caesar dead and turned to clay might stop a hole to keep the wind away. Oh, that that earth, which kept the world in awe, should patch a wall to expel the winter's flaw. But soft, aside, here comes the king. He seems a little confused about the difference between body and soul. Yet when he meets the ghost of his father at the beginning of the action, we see how he views the life of the soul after the dust has returned to dust. Hamlet, enter ghost. Hamlet, angels and ministers of grace, defend us. Be thou a spirit of health or a goblin damned, bringing with the airs from heaven or blasts from hell. Thou comest in such a questionable shape that I will speak of thee. I'll call thee Hamlet, king, father, royal Dane. Oh, answer me, let me not burst in ignorance, but tell me why the sepulchre wherein we saw thee quietly inurned hath opened its ponderous and marble jaws to cast thee up again. What may this mean? Horatio, it beckons you to go away with it, and as if it's some impartment, the desire to you alone. Marcio, look, with what courteous action it waves you to a more removed ground, but do not go with it. Horatio, no, by no means. Or Hamlet, it will not speak, then I will follow it. Horatio, do not, my lord. Hamlet, why? What should be the fear? I do not set my life at a pen's fee, and for my soul, what can it do to that? Being a thing immortal as itself. It weighs me forth again. I'll follow it. So this is another side point here, but worth mentioning. Um, in Suzanne, the very very famous song by Leonard Cohen, he talks about Christ. He says, "And Jesus was a sailor when he walked upon the water, and he spent a long time watching from a lonely wooden tower across until he knew him for certain. Only drowning when men could see him." Yeah, so there's the point. Until we are materially exhausted, as Hamlet is here. Hamlet is a very, very fit candidate for derealization because he's lost his father, everything else, situation. His mother has gotten married to his uncle, who was very, very less glorifiable person, very quickly. So he's in a very, very detached situation. He doesn't care if he dies or not, but then he can see. He's seeing that my soul is immortal as this ghost. Okay, now we'll move on to what determines our destination. We're talking about changing bodies, and this is one of the fundamental aspects of the world. The soul is different than the body in our Bhagavad Gita's perspective. And in the Hamlet's perspective, it's definitely traveling, even out of this world to a next life. But what determines our destination? Here on the right, we see many tarot cards giving different, very, very, what's the word, like archetypal, Jungian archetypes of what our destination can be. We can be the fool, we can be the virgin, we can be the king, so many. Bhagavad Gita 8:6. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. So it's not just like a little memory, like what is the capital of Russia, what is the capital of Uganda, but it's the Baba is the actual Sanskrit word. What is the perspective we have on things? What is our attitude towards things? So it means this kind of this perspective that I'm the controller of everything, everything is for my benefit, or that I'm a servant of everybody, and I should look to everybody and see how I can help them. So different kinds of consciousness are possible. But whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. Bhagavad Gita's declaration. Okay. So what is the king's state of consciousness at this moment? King, oh, my offense is rank. It smells to heaven. it hath the primal eldest curse upon it, a brother's murder. So coming from this tradition of Hamlet, we have this whole story in the Bible of Cain and Abel. They were the sons of the progenitor of all living beings, of all men, Adam and Eve. And Cain, I think, killed Abel, like that. So he says, "Oh, my offense is rank, it smells to heaven, it hath the primus eldest curse upon it, your brother's murder. Play can I not, though inclination be as sharp as will, my stronger guilt defeats my strong intent." But what if this cursed hand were thicker than itself with brother's blood? Is there not rain enough in the sweet heavens to wash it white as snow? Whereto serves mercy but to confront the visage of offense, the face of offense? And what's in prayer but this twofold force, to be forestalled ere we come to fall, or pardon being down? Of course, this is exactly in the Bhagavad literature, describing that devotional service, praying to God, has these two forces. It's prophylactic, it prevents us from falling down, and if we are contaminated, it's antiseptic. So identical, very clear idea of ontology of the nature of prayer and service to God. By prayer, we can become free from our sinful reactions. There's Cain and Abel. Then I'll look up. Okay, the king says, my fault is past. Now, of course, this is after Hamlet arranges a little drama in the evening, and he sees that his uncle reacts to the simulated murder within the drama as his father, the ghost, described how he was murdered by his uncle. And the king storms out, and Hamlet sees him in the hallway talking to himself, and he listens from behind the curtain. But then I'll look up, my fault is past, but oh, I am still possessed of those effects for which I did the murder, my crown, mine own ambition, and my queen. May one be pardoned and retain the offense? May one be pardoned and retain the offense? Yeah. Help angels, make assay. Bow stubborn knees, all may be well. Okay. So there are 10 offenses described in the Bhagavad literature in chanting the holy names in prayer. And one of those is to maintain material attachments. We're praying to God, but as we see here in the case of the king, I think it's Claudius, we're maintaining our attachments. And so it's kind of like trying to light a fire while putting, wood on it and flames, and simultaneously sprinkling it with water. There'll always be an effect from praying and everything else, but it can be very slow if we're so determined to hang on to all these material, prestige invoking attachments. Then look up, my fault is past, but oh, I am still possessed of those effects for which I did the murder, my crown, my ambition, my queen. May one be pardoned and retain the offense. Help angels, make assay. Bow stubborn knees, all may be well. Enter Hamlet. Okay. Good. Ah, now might I do it pat while he is praying. Kill him, get revenge. And so he goes to heaven. And so I am revenged. This would be scanned. A villain kills my father, and for that I, his sole son, do the same villain sin to heaven. Oh, this is higher in salary, not revenge. He took my father grossly full of bread, with all his crimes broad blown, as flesh as May. And am I then revenged to take him in the purging of his soul when he is fit and seasoned for his passage? No. So again, yam yam bapi smaram baman. The consciousness of his father was a Kshatriya. He had so much access to beautiful women and so many things and did so many things of having to fight and kill people. So even in Christian culture, then there was time that the king should leave and go to the forest or go to a monastery and purge himself of these reactions before he died. And his father actually tells him that. He said, because I wasn't able to undergo this Vanaprastha life, I have to suffer in hell. And I can't even describe to you how bad it is because it would just be too terrifying. So not only was he killed by his brother, the king, but also he killed him in such a way that he had to suffer in hell. So Hamlet decides to kill him now. It's not revenge, it's hire and pay. Up sword, and know thou a more horrid intent. When he is drunk, or in his rage, or in the incestuous pleasures of his bed, at gaming, swearing, or about some act that has no relish or salvation in it, then trip him up, that his heels may kick at heaven, and his soul may be damned and black as the hell whereto it goes. So Hamlet seems to know the philosophy very well. He's using it for very interesting means like that. Okay, the king rises and leaves. Hamlet also is gone, I guess. And the king says as he's leaving, my words fly up, my thoughts remain below. Words without thoughts to heaven never go. Such nice words without thoughts to heaven never go. Yeah. So Bhagavad Gita 3:6, one who restrains the senses of action, but whose mind dwells on sense objects, certainly deludes himself and is called a pretender. Summary, ontology. Both Hamlet and Arjuna face the most difficult problem, separation from ones you love. They both know that the body is a machine made of matter that will perish. They both know that our consciousness at the time of death determines where the immortal soul will go. Arjuna understands reincarnation. Hamlet seems to think that the self may be the body. They both know that prayer can save us if it is accompanied by proper action. Okay. So that's kind of the end of this little section here. But there's so much more that can be discussed here. For example, this one very famous phrase, to be or not to be, that is the question. To take arms against a sea of Kauravas by fight to oppose them. So very similar. This is exactly the pivot point of Arjuna's problem. You know, to fight with his family members, his teacher, sensei, his grandfather, and to kill them, you know, or even to die in the battle. You know. So you can go on now, but it's a whole separate, very nice, practical, useful analysis. You know, the things that face us in our life. So this is Act 3, Scene 1, Bhagavad Gita 2.6.7. Another one is rough hewn it how we will. So Arjuna's conclusion is, Hamlet's conclusion is, after going through all these things and trying to avoid the problem, trying to understand the problem, trying to run away from the problem, being taken away from the problem, but always being thrust back into the same thing of having to kill his uncle and, you know, and chastise his mother. So finally he says, we all have a certain destiny, or in the words of the Bhagavad Gita, karma. And even though it may be cut very somewhat roughly, still it's there. Okay, so Bill Gates may oscillate between very rich and very rich, but he's not going to become poor. There's the idea that Bill Gates hides himself in the forest in an unoccupied, unused barn, and within 1 year, money is pouring through the windows. Yeah. So this is the idea. Is it true or not? But both of these great classics say yes. People have a destiny. You know. And I mean, there's some flexibility in it. Yeah. But there's certain limits. Oh, he's going to carry you, and all you can do is play the part the best way possible. You know. And finally, in second husband, let me be accursed. So this is the section where it's talking then about his mother and how she then gets remarried and everything else like that. Let me see what time it is here now. The clock from someone. Anyway, I can do that by pushing this button, escape. 8:18. Okay, we have time enough to do this. So any questions or comments at this point?
Hare Krishna Gurudeva, please accept my humble obeisances always to Srila Prabhupada and Guru.
Hare Krishna.
Quick question, quick observation or comment, Gurudeva. A nice, wonderful class, Gurudeva, especially you put two classics. I'm not much familiar with Hamlet other than I know the story, very top, very high level. But what I felt it like, many of the modern classics are having some kind of, inspiration or something from this Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, all this. Why these classics or something didn't come to the mainstream or inspire more people, modern people. I mean to say, even the materialistic people can take, because anyway they don't read Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, those things, but at least these classics, even the sake of to learn something or something. Is it it requires a lot of intelligence or something to process, understand that, or is there any other reason why those classics are something not coming to the mainstream or many people accept or use it or something?
Well, one answer would be, why does it get colder after the summer and after the spring, after the fall are finished? Right? Why does it get colder after summer is finished? Well, it's Kali Yuga. This is just the natural transcourse of time. And Vyasadeva in the start of the Bhagavatam sees this. And you see, this is what's going to happen because we want that. We in the material world, we want things that will convince us there is no God. We can do whatever we want to. That's one thing, our basic situation, we desire it. Then another point is that it's because it's not, it has to be put into the contemporary language. Shakespeare, of course, is the most famous literary person in English language, and his plays were performed for ordinary people and the great royalty of the time like that. Maybe something for the priests, I don't know, but at least very educated kings and queens and dukes and duchesses, they would be in the audience up in the box. The groundlings would pay less. They would be down below sitting on the ground or whatever. So if you read his plays, they have lewd body jokes about this and that, a little bit of, gross pornographic stuff, humor in them. And also they have very, very high concepts back and forth. So we can see that Shakespeare, he was appealing to both classes of people. So people know the story of Hamlet that many people may not have, what's the word here? Escape. Okay. I got this thing here. That many people may not have know it directly. Okay. Have you seen The Lion King? Have your children seen it? There
Yes.
you go. So you've seen Hamlet.
Yes, Gurudev. I'm very fond of Lion King.
It was made in 1994, 2004, 2014. Okay. It's pushing between 25 and 30 years old. You know how much it cost to make originally?
I don't know much.
Look on the screen.
Yes, it is. Its budget is 45 million, and then box office. Oh God, 968.
Yes. So you're mistaken.
Yes.
So if we double that, we get 90 million.
Yeah.
So it's made. This is a pretty profitable enterprise, right? It's made 20 times the investment, and now it's so popular they've gone ahead and made a new version of it, investing probably more money. And they should flat out, they'll tell you that it's based upon the story of Hamlet. The prince and everything else like that. They adjusted it, time, place, and circumstance. But that's the thing. People do get them, and how many people have have little children have grown up and understanding these things. This famous song, "The Cycle of Life," So it is there. It is going on. People are taking advantage of it, but it requires the Brahmins, to put it into contemporary language. Okay.
Yes, Gurudeva. I think the last statement is a wonderful one, Gurudeva. Especially, I love Lion King, but I never compare Lion King with my Hamlet or anything. Even though I know Hamlet little bit, but I never draw any conclusions or any.
Yeah, they say that the writers directly took it because, okay, here's a classic, here's a winner, here's something which is touches things deeply, and so let's just put it in modern language, which Prabhupada says we should do. So putting Bhagavad Gita in perspective of Western classics, I like doing this, and it's for a certain kind of people. Other people preach different ways.
I'm glad, Gurudeva. I think at least a certain category of people require it. It's a kind of to give. Yeah, I really like that way.
The people who read the preface to the book before they start the book. That's the kind of people who like this.
Yes, Gurudeva. Thank you, Gurudeva.
Any other comments or question? We got our question from the top of the hill there, from Richmond. Okay, then we can go to the last part here. We finish this off. I go to PowerPoint. Okay, so here the last thing was this thing about Sri Dharma, Varnashram Dharma, Vaidhi Varnashram Dharma, and his mother's problem. Okay, so let's see what happened with the mother. So before Hamlet's arranging this play, like I said, he has some people he knows, and he says, "Hey, put it on like this. Put these lines in." And some are for the king, his uncle, which described the murder of his father by his uncle, as the ghost describes it. And he sees from the reaction that, yes, this is what happened. But he also has some things for his mother here. So in the play, the player king says, "For 12 years we have been married." Player queen, "So many journeys may the sun and moon make us again count ere love be done. But woe is me, you are so sick of late, so far from cheer and from your former state. Yeah. Now what my love is, truth hath made you know, and as my love is sized, my fear is so." I forgot what it was. We did this in one time in Chile before Claudia so-and-so when she was a beginning professor. And I read the part of the player king. And our good disciple, I forgot her name there, she became an actress. She was actually, professional actress, did the player queen. But as it went on, she just broke down. She just couldn't handle it. It was just, so intense. It just forced you to start expressing these things that she just started breaking down and laughing. She couldn't do it. Baba said you can teach Hamlet, teach Shakespeare in Gurukula. If you want to understand what word power is. Player king, faith, I must leave love, and shortly too. My operant powers their functions leave to do. And thou wilt live in this fair world behind, honored, beloved, and happily one as kind. For husband thou shalt, oh, confound the rest. Such love must needs be treason in my breast. In second husband let me be accursed. None wed the second, but who killed the first. Such intense program. None wed the second, who killed the first. It's difficult because you start presenting this in the modern world. You know that a lot of the women in the audience are, wed the second. And so, okay. Hamlet, wormwood. That means, wood eaten up by worms. Yeah. Okay, there's a second wedding cake. Player queen. The instances that second marriage move are base respects of thrift, but none of love. The second time I kill my husband dead, when second husband kisses me in bed. Player king. I do believe you think what now you speak, but what we do determine oft we break. Purpose is but the slave to memory. of violent birth, but poor validity, which now, like fruit unripe, sticks on the tree, but falls unshaken when they mellow be. Wow, this is what 500 years later is still so powerful. Okay. Yeah. Player queen, nor earth to give me food, nor heaven light. Sport and repose lock for me day and night. To desperation turn my trust and hope. And anchors cheer in prison be my scope. If once a widow, I ever be a wife. Hamlet to his mother. Hamlet to his mother, the real queen. Madame, how do you like this play? Queen, the lady protests too much, methinks. Okay, so we have some nice pictures here of a kitty cat. There's one Hamlet talking to his mother, another Hamlet talking to his mother. Yeah, very interesting play. Okay, what is that? Hamlet. I am very, oh yeah. Then sometime after this, outside the play, Horatio comes, who's he's like his counselor. Hamlet doesn't have a guru. He has Horatio who can reflect his thoughts and help in introspection. But he doesn't have a guru, which is a very, very significant difference between him and Arjuna. So he has to come to conclusions for the Paramatma. Hamlet, I am very glad to see you, good sir. But what in faith make you from Wittenberg? What has caused you to come from Wittenberg? Horatio, my lord, I came to see your father's funeral. Hamlet, I prithee, do not mock me, fellow student. I think it was to see my mother's wedding. Horatio, indeed, my lord, it followed hard upon. Hamlet, thrift, Horatio. The funeral's baked meats did coldly furnish forth the marriage tables. So he's saying that his mother was remarried so quick. The cold cuts from the cooked meats from the wedding served as cold cuts. Cooked meats from the funeral served as cold cuts for the wedding. That's pretty quick. Yeah. So such an intense program. There's so many other things in Hamlet and Shakespeare that make wonderful points for inspiring Western audiences to appreciate the Bhagavad Gita in text like this. It's our whole program at the end of all of these things. Okay. So here's Arjuna's comment upon all of this, which I guess we should read. With the destruction of dynasty, the eternal family tradition is vanquished, and thus the rest of the family becomes involved in irreligion. He's telling Krishna this, his reasons for not fighting. When irreligion is prominent in the family, O Krishna, the women of the family become polluted, and from degradation of womanhood, O descendant of Vishnu, comes unwanted progeny. An increase of unwanted population causes hellish life, both for the family and for those who destroy the family tradition. The ancestors of such corrupt families fall down because the performances for offering them food and water are entirely stopped. By the evil deeds of those who destroy the family tradition and thus give rise to unwanted children, all kinds of community projects and family welfare activities are devastated. O king, maintainer of the people, I have heard by disciplic succession that those who destroy family traditions dwell always in hell. So we finish off here with a comparison of Hamlet and the Bhagavad Gita as it is, and a quotation from Thomas Brown. He who does not listen to the wisdom of the past will live like a blind man in the present. Of course, somebody may ask, who was Tom Brown? I was sitting there with Lakshman and we didn't have any final quote to summarize it all. So I think somebody actually said something like this, but I just attributed it to Thomas Brown, who you know of course, is Monkey and Piggy in the Anjana Sudha Academy. And when I did this, I was looking over and I saw that some of the professors who were attending our programs writing the quotation down. It was embarrassing if they asked us who Thomas Brown was. But the conclusion was, we have the Bhagavad Gita out there beautifully displayed, and so many people then would buy Bhagavad Gitas. So that's the point, is they're appreciating, yes, this is something I want to hear. I've heard it from Hamlet's side, and I need to hear from other perspectives like that. So that's our little presentation here. Any final comments or questions?
Krishna Maharaj, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Thank you very much, Maharaj, for a nice presentation for a fool like us because we never had touch with Shakespeare. So I have my question in the chat. Such preaching program where you are trying to showcase or bridge or whatever the word could be. How do we measure the success of such programs? Because ultimately we need to understand that preaching is going on. So how do we understand? Because there is book distribution, there is quantitative number. In preaching home programs, how many people attend 16 rounds or how many prasadam plates are distributed. So how do you understand because like you must be understanding, but how do common people understand? How do you communicate success of programs?
Exactly what you're saying. For example, I would say the best programs or best organized programs were in Santiago in Chile, and I did it, and I was getting tired of it. It's okay, it's nice, but like you're saying, in some ways, it's kind of a little bit in the mode of passion or something, so on. But then people wanted us to do it again and again, and it was just a public and educated people, everything else. So, uh, um, so then the programs there, they described them. For example, one of the programs was at the Casa de la Moneda. Formerly it was the Mint in Santiago where they made the money, but it was converted into a world-class, cultural complex with beautiful vaulting ceilings and staircases and marble halls. Another time we did it at the embassy, the National Library. I think maybe it was part of the same building, with beautiful marble halls and wood. And every seat, maybe 400 seats, was full. Somebody from the U.S. Embassy was there. People from the cultural editors for the biggest, what do you call it, radio stations in Chile. And Raul Zurita, met him. He started participating. He was the national poet laureate. He's a poet that is elected for 2 years, and he was elected twice. Such a wonderful person, so influential. And he was just starting to appreciate this Indian culture and everything else. And he was enjoying the programs. And I felt he was maybe 3 times as intelligent as I am, and fortunately a nice person. So there's one result is that very intelligent leaders of society who themselves form the ideas subsequently of other people are coming again and again and inviting other people to come. Another thing was the direct distribution of books. And again, this is book distribution, not to somebody in the street who kind of takes it because it's a gift for donating something to a welfare program. Hey, can you help us out? We're feeding poor people. Oh yeah, here's a donation. Oh, thanks, take this. It's really useful too. Oh, thank you. But people who have a considered appreciation of the book. And then prasadam distribution, yeah, the devotees arranged it so beautifully. They took Light of the Bhagavat pictures and had them up there. Reception was very proper. And ladies dressed in beautiful saris, men dressed in tuxedos, whatever. 3 kinds of savories, 3 kinds of sweets, and so many comments from people, appreciation like that, and asking us to go on. Lord Chaitanya was presenting his ideas, and then Sarvabhauma, everybody else said, continue, go on. So that's what I would say. There's, the measurement. It's more like measuring it the way Lord Chaitanya was preaching as a sannyasi, and probably saying this is how we should do it. So is that some good idea about how to make estimates?
Yes, Maharaj, that's a very good idea because it gives us vision actually.
Any other questions and comments? Who's here in our public?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay, yeah. Oh, Chaitanya, Charita, Mita, Das.
Glories Prabhupada, all goes to service. Yeah, I was listening and the parallels and the classes, very nice. Encore, keep them coming. Yeah, dealing with some of the aspects with the Bhagavad Gita and the Sampradaya and has that connection, a little more powerful than in Shakespeare, but yet certain people at certain levels are going to have to appreciate it at their levels, I guess. It's my question, I guess, would be is, how far do you want to reveal specifics of our school and knowledge and this thought, opposed to just general understanding to people that aren't ready for any advanced things?
Well, you notice I haven't gone on with it more, so that's kind of my answer. I think that I've kind of like done as much as necessary at this point. Abraham Lincoln said, "A man's legs should be long enough to reach the ground." So you understand, Charles? So that is just pragmatic. You know, it's like Prabhupada was encouraging George Harrison to write songs. And for example, he wrote My Sweet Lord, you know, which is one of the most famous songs in the world, and so much associated with devotees. Yeah. So, and Prabhupada praised him for it. So it's kind of a pragmatic thing. You know, why did Vyasadeva write the Bhagavatam? He already wrote so much other stuff. Why did Krishnadas Kaviraj write Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is a class in the Bhagavatam? So it depends on the time, the place, the circumstance. Gopi Paranadhana, when I was talking about this, we were in Vrindavan, and he said, "Oh yes, yes." He said, "Prabhupada, one time in London, and I don't think it was recorded. Maybe it was like an evening program or something, a little more informal. And he had heard it or something, and he said Prabhupada told the entire story of the Merchant of Venice, one of Shakespeare's plays, you know, like that with enthusiasm. So yeah, it depends upon the time, the place, and the circumstance. Another way to do it, for example, might be to take Bhagavad Gita and compare it to the Lion King. Okay, other people appreciate it. You know, another one, you know, is going to always talk about, you know, Dirty Harry or whatever his name is, Clint Eastwood, and he says, "I don't talk much, but when I talk, my pistol speaks for me." Okay, so time, place, and circumstance. You know, and how many people are going back to Goloka? And Lalita Gopi is commenting that also we did it in Mexico City at Universidad Iberoamericana. The students made wonderful reports of this event. Thank you very much, Gurudev. We're doing a little bit here. So here today there are 32 people. Let's see who they are. Srinivasacharya, Sundar Radhika, Abhinandan, Ishwari, Adi Yagna, Argentina. Ambarish Das and Vrishabhanu Nandini on the edge of the great forest. Arjuna Das, the master of a million bicycles. Carlos Rold, Chataratma Palika, Parvati, Divya Dristi, Gaura Sundar Nitai, Gracias, Maitre, Bhakti Maitre, Guru Govinda, Harsh, Jambavan, and John Bhavan, Chad and Shringa, okay, Kirti Devi Dasi, Lakshmana Aguja Raman Reti, Lalita Gopi Devi Dasi, Manasi Ganga Lakshmi, Mitra Vinda, the what is it, the cousin of Anna, Parasuram Adhikari Das, Pyari Mohan Das, Ravanari. Okay. Porque le falta oxígeno como a mí en este momento. Seva. Subal Saka, Krishna Pramodini, Radha, Surada Gopi, Tarangakshi, Tulasi Krishna, Latuti, Vishwanath Chakravarti Das, who has been our translator for many of these things like that. So I want to thank everybody very, very much. And maybe we have, what else we have to do? We have to do Hanumat Prashak Leela, fill that out as world classical literature. Maybe we're thinking then we'll do an Uncle Gizmo thing, consolidating our communications seminar. And then we'll be done. We see Ambarish, and it shows up on our webpage, Ambarish Vrishabhananandini. Then we can just start talking to people and say, hey, look at this. What do you think of that? You know? And depending on the time, place, and circumstance, if Juan Bejo from the Jesuits in Peru wants to talk, if where's it go? Shonasham Dahashani in London, or Umberto Maturana. Oh no, put that person in there. I forgot his name. He runs a Jungian center in Argentina. Very nice person. So there are people we've contacted now, and this is what we're trying to do. And Diary of a Traveling Creature. And as we create dialogues with them, then they'll then go ahead and we'll build bridges between their communities like that and us. So thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.